I would actually suggest that you don't make money when people say yes. You make money in the process of handling objections. It's the objections that make the money. And the yes is just the materialization of all of the objections that you handled prior.
Welcome to another Real Estate First Friday. How you doing, man? Let's keep some music playing for a little tiny bit. It's Friday, baby. We're going to keep it going for
Is it on?
It's on. They got it. We going. It's
All
Friday,
right.
baby. We made it through another week. Lewis,
Another
how was
one.
your week, man?
Oh, it was great, man.
Yeah.
It blew by fast once again.
Yeah.
And the weather's like hot out there now.
It's hot.
Like it's really hot, like hot.
Lewis just told us that he was beat yesterday at pickleball by a 70-year-old woman.
I said she was playing in the courts next to us.
He said she was serious.
Yeah.
And she was. I took from the story that he lost to a 70-year-old.
But if she did play against us, I probably would have lost. I'm not gonna lie.
Pickleball's a real thing, man.
Yeah,
It's like it is like the fastest growing sport.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. John said that would you say it was people who are not athletic enough for tennis but too poor for golf? That's what what John said. Anyways, I don't believe that. Just so you know, that was all the thought of John. Anyways, it's been a pretty crazy week. I want to bring in our special guest Sam K from Big Block out of California, who is a scripting and sales master. Obviously ran one of the largest team organizations in the entire country, continues to still just dominate in the space, helps solo agents, team leaders, and all the likes to really grow their business, propel their business. So if you're looking for sales script and training and how to influence versus sales, that is what you are going to learn today. So good morning, Sam. How are you, brother?
I'm doing well. Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to share some strategies that I think personally is the most critical part of being successful in the game of selling real estate.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
I love it too, because as we were preparing for this week's Real Estate First Friday, we asked Sam, hey, like what subject matters do you think are important for us to cover? And what was his quote that he used in our text? He said, how to convert leads using your mouth with words that will get your consumer to say yes. I'm like, that is such a great
even the thought process around it, which is like, hey, yeah, you can, because here's the thing, right? Generally in sales, what you're doing is helping the person understand their obstacle and then providing the solution for them, right? What happens is when they don't know the answers, those obstacles turn into no. Like, hey, I don't know the answer. And maybe I would say yes if I knew, but because I don't, the answer is no. Like I don't have a way to move forward. And what skills salespeople do is as they approach those scenarios where they understand that the person may not know which way to go, they provide them the options and give them the solutions. And so then the person says, oh yeah, easy. It's going to be this or it's going to be that. You give them the ability to make it past those obstacles. So while you're not convincing them to do something that they don't want to do, you're giving them the avenue, the runway to say, hey, I'm going to help you make these decisions or help you understand the impact of your decisions as we get there. And that is a very deliberate conversation. And there's nobody better that I know who knows how to identify that, gain commitment, and help someone move forward as you, Sam. So he does it to me all of the time.
Yeah.
I've done so many things.
so he's entering this podcast with all the pressures of the world. So Sam, you're up, buddy.
I'm ready to roll. For this to be impactful, we have to start with understanding one core principle. The idea is simple, and it's, I've never met an agent that actually has a lead problem. The reality is that we don't have a lead problem. We have a conversation problem. And let's put this behind some data. And this is going to make it all come to life. 80% of appointments are set after 7 to 8 objections are handled, or we're on the phone for 12 and a half minutes or more. So my question for you is, and I'm curious what the guys think, like what percentage of agents do you think have the skill set to handle 7, 8 objections without hanging up the phone or getting frustrated and giving up, right? Out of the total population of agents, what percentage of them do we think have the skill set to have difficult conversations?
If they are frequently on Real Estate First Friday, I'd say 100%.
Good answer. Here's what I think. I think the reality is that it's less than 20%. I think it's the 20% of the 20%. And when we think about it, let's just say that it's 20%. What that means is we know that 80% of appointments are set after 7 or 8 conversions are handled. And we have 4% of agents, maybe 20% of agents swimming in the 80% pond. So where all of the appointments live on the backside of being able to handle objections, there's only 4, 10, maybe 20% of agents that are swimming in that pond. And then we have 96% of agents swimming in the pond of people that'll say yes before 7 or 8 objections. The reason I show this is because it's important to understand it's no longer a wonder why 20% of agents do 80% of the business. It's because 20% of the agents are swimming in the 80% pond while everybody else is fighting in the 20% pond. The most important part of this is conversion is the single most important factor. And what I mean by that is we don't need to be 1%, 100% better than our competition. We only need to be 1 or 2% better than our competition. What I mean by that is NAR says the average conversion rate online for leads is 2%. So if I get to 3%, if my average commission check is $10,000 against 100 leads, right? And I'm converting like the average agent at 2%, that means I made $20,000 on a 10K per commission. If I get 1% better, I'm making 30,000 on that same batch of leads. If I get 2% better, I'm making 40,000. The point I'm trying to make here is there's no other industry that you could get just 1% better, but make 50% more income. You get 2% better and you've doubled your GCI. It all starts with understanding that people hire the person that makes them feel comfortable and confident. Earlier, I believe it was Matt said, we're not trying to convince people to buy a home or sell a home. We are not in the job of convincing people. Rather, we are in the job of making them feel comfortable and confident with making their decision. So what's the challenge? Is we don't know what to say, so we don't try. We don't pick up the phone. We don't prospect. The drunk monkey slows us down and says, oh, this person's not interested. Or if I keep asking questions, they're going to get upset, right? That back of the brain sets up. And the reality is less than 5% of agents have come into the business with a direct sales background. And most of us have never gotten comfortable with the 3 key factors that make you successful in conversations. And that's number 1, finding the objections. Number 2, getting on their side. And then number 3 is asking strong questions. And we're going to break these all down. This is, if you get anything from the presentation, this is the formula that you have to understand. Sales is about finding objections. So we find objections. We repeat the objection that we are served. Give them words of approval, and then we ask the next question. So what's my point here? Most of the time, when agents are prospecting or calling or whatever you want to call it, they're hoping that they're going to get someone that's not going to give them an objection. They're hoping they can get someone that's just going to give them an appointment. But the reality is good salespeople are getting on the phone looking for objections, because objections are nothing more than unanswered questions in the client's mind. Questions are a natural step to a successful closing. So if you could reprogram your brain to understand that, no, I am looking for objections. I'm in the business of handling objections because objections are a natural step to a successful closing, then all of a sudden, this game becomes a lot easier. So the question becomes, how do we get to the 80% conversion bucket? How do we become one of the people that is converting these clients and sell more homes in the market? Number 1, like I just said, is we have to try to find the customer's objection as fast as possible. No longer should we be scared of getting objections. We have to get comfortable with the fact that the objections never change. There's only 20 or so objections. If we learn the objections and learn how to handle them with style and smile, then all of a sudden we understand the power is finding the objection, because the objection, again, is nothing more than an unanswered question. Number two, we have to remember that selling is not telling, selling is asking questions. Selling is not telling, selling is asking questions. What I mean by that is the moment you're in a sales conversation, you have to turn on that part of your brain that makes sure everything you say, even when you're making a statement like you are right now, turns into a question mark by saying something like, does that make sense? Are you with me? The point of sales is to conversate. And when you ask questions, you'll start to be able to control the conversation. And I'm going to break that down a little bit further. Now, it's important that we never make the prospect wrong, even when they are. Sometimes you'll talk to a client and they will say, I don't want to sell because of a statement of fact that we all know to be true. And what a lot of agents will do is they'll say, oh, you don't want to sell because, X, Y, Z. And they'll say, no, X, Y, Z is okay. It's okay to sell right now. It's okay to buy right now because you can always refinance or whatever you say. But the moment you tell them that they're wrong is the moment that they no longer work with you. So instead, we receive the question, the objection, we repeat it, we approve it, and then we ask them the next most logical question, which we'll break down here in a moment. And we always repeat and approve what they say and keep asking for permission to address their concerns. What I mean by asking for permission is when you are a permission-based salesperson, the prospect believes that they're in control of the conversation. But the reality is, I am asking questions that are directing them where I want them to go. And by asking for permission, may I address this thought? Is it okay if I explain the problem that this might create for you? Do you mind if I help you look through another lens that might help you look at this a little more clear? See, by asking questions and asking for permission whenever possible, it keeps the client in the mindset that they are in control of the conversation. And that's important because they don't want to be sold. So when we ask questions and ask for permission, we make everything easier for both parties. So earlier I said we have to find objections. Objections are a natural step towards a closing. We have to change the way we look at conversations and understand that objections are our friends. Objections are how the prospect makes sure that you're not another bozo, that they're not hiring another person that doesn't know what they're doing. See, what they want is to feel someone that has a sense of authority, that is convictive, that is positive and confident that they can help the client with their need. So they throw out objections like, I'm thinking about it, just to slow down the sales process, and they're testing you, right? So when they say they're thinking about it, remember that that's just them making sure you're not another bozo. And they want someone with authority. And the reality is objections never change. So we simply need to learn them. Earlier, I said that 80% of appointments are set after 7 or 8 objections are handled. That means that the easy ones that you're looking for are the crazy ones. The easy ones are the ones that most agents don't want to work with, right? You get paid these big commissions because of your ability to handle difficult conversations. I'm going to say that again. We get paid what we get paid because of our ability to handle difficult conversations. And again, it's a formula, an objection, then repeat and approve and ask the next most logical question. Let's practice something real quick. One of the guys, how often do you think that you've heard the objection, I want to think about it?
The number one objection when someone doesn't want to say, no to you, they'll
Correct.
say, Yeah,
Yep.
let me think about it, or I just need some time to digest it, or let me go ask the wife, or some level of deferment that says, I'm not saying no now, I just need some time to think about it.
100%. And this is like the core of where we get it wrong. The agent will say, well, what is there to think about? You said you want to buy a house. We found a house in your price range. We found it inside of the neighborhood. We found the home you're looking for, and you're still not ready to make a commitment. Like, what's wrong? What do I need to do different? And all I do when I say something like that is I make the client wrong. So instead, the client says to me, I want to think about it. I'm going to say, you want to think about it. I completely understand. This is a big decision, isn't it? Yes, it is. Well, since we know two minds are better than one, let's think out loud together. Tell me, what are you thinking? Instead of me saying, no, you don't need to think about it, now I've invited them to actually tell me what is holding them up. And what that does is it opens up their ability to tell you what their motivation or their hangup is. Because remember that sales are on the backside of solving for pain or pleasure. And if we understand what they are looking for, they're either trying to relieve pain or they're trying to achieve pleasure. And by getting them to talk, we understand what their motivation is. And here's the thing. When they start talking about their motivation promotes emotion, and emotion promotes conversion. We're always repeating and approving what they say so that they feel like we hear what they're saying. They feel like we are with them and we understand them. And then we ask the next most logical question. So when I say people repeat and approve, I mean literally anytime someone gives you an objection or says something, you want to repeat what they say and give them words of approval, because people don't like to work with people that make them wrong. It tells them that you hear them and understand them. It gives them confidence to keep talking. Think about that part for a moment. When you repeat and approve what they say, it gives them confidence to keep talking. And the more they talk, the more we learn and the further the conversation goes. The more they talk, the easier it becomes to win. Giving them confidence to keep talking is the difference between having an appointment set or just chasing a call or chasing a lead. So remember that selling is not telling. Selling is asking great questions. Like I said earlier, telling people things, telling them why they should or they shouldn't think the way they're thinking creates a defensive response. Even if the client says, I don't want to sell because it's raining purple elephants. And I look outside, I don't see any raining purple elephants. And I tell the client that. I say, man, I got to tell you, I don't see any elephants. The moment I say that to them, I've made them wrong. Because to them, through their lens, that's what they're feeling. So what am I going to say? I'm going to say, wow, it's raining purple elephants. I completely understand how that could affect your decision-making process. So let me ask you this. What would we do as our next steps once it stops raining purple elephants? Right? I didn't make them wrong. I addressed their feeling, and now I'm asking them the next most logical question. Your entire business will start to experience rapid growth when you understand the value of asking great questions. Because questions quickly help you discover what's important to the client versus what's important to you. When you know what's important to the client, now we can manufacture a conversation and direct the conversation to help them get what they want. It shows the client that you're interested in them. I want you to think about this for a moment. When a client feels like you are interested, you understand, you hear them, you're with them, what that effectively does is it takes that prospect off the market. Because once I've talked to Matt as an agent, and Matt knows me, understands me, knows my goals and my challenges, When that next agent calls, I'm thinking to myself, man, I already talked to Matt and Matt knows me. He gets me. He sees me. I have no desire to talk to these other agents that are calling because Matt is my guy, right? And this is because questions evoke a lot of thought and emotion in a prospect's mind. And emotion promotes action. The fastest way to change someone's perspective is by asking questions. Like, I understand your concern is X, but is it okay if I ask you or give you another perspective to look at? Because you're not alone. All my clients initially felt the same way. It's asking for permission to help them look through a different lens. It helps the client become engaged. And here's arguably one of the most important points. Asking great questions helps you as the agent identify the things the prospect did not want you to know. For example, we had a lead on the team that nobody could convert. This lady is favoriting every home. She's coming back to the website. She's searching like crazy. She on the list is the number one most motivated lead, and nobody could set the appointment. So I call her in front of the entire team, and I'm on the phone with her for 15 minutes. I refuse to hang up because everyone's listening. But what's my point? Finally, after about 15 minutes, I say, I got to ask you something. I'm a little confused. You seem so motivated, so engaged. You're looking at homes, but you're not quite ready to take the next step. Let me ask you, what has to happen before you decide to set an appointment with us so we can help you find the home of your dreams? And her answer was, I think I should get a job first. That client had a condition. She could not get a loan to buy a home. And she didn't want all the agents that had called prior to know that. But by knowing that she doesn't have a job, she doesn't have cash to buy it, she doesn't have someone else on the loan, now I know this person does not qualify. And I can now move on. But when you have people that have conditions and they're not setting appointments and you don't know why, it gets in your head. And asking great questions is the only way to stay in control of the conversation. We got to remember that a bunch of little commitments equal a big commitment. What I mean by that is use questions as tie downs, right? When I make a statement and I say, Matt, are you getting this? And Matt says, yes. Are you with me? Are you picking this up? I want you to think about the way those are positioned. When Matt says, yes, I'm with you, he's not only saying yes, but he's also subconsciously committing to working with me. Are you with me? Are you picking this up? Are you getting this, right? A bunch of little commitments equal a big commitment. If I can get them to be in a yes state, that doesn't mean that I've convinced them to sell. It means that we are in congruence with each other. So when I ask for the big yes, when I ask for the appointment, they're already in a yes state with me. Does that make sense? Are you getting this? Could you see how this can make a big impact in your business, right? It's all about questions and permission-based selling. So when I say permission-based selling, I want you to dangle the carrot where you want the prospect to go. Because what they do when they get on the phone with you is they put their heels in the ground. They don't want to be sold. So when we ask questions and we do it permission-based, the seller or the client rather feels like they remain in control. But you are controlling the conversation by taking the questions where you want the client to go. Those sound like, may I share another perspective with you? Is it okay if I explain the problem that might create for you? Would you mind if I shared some data with you around that? Can I quickly explain how we can fix that problem for you? And let me ask you, would it be worth a few minutes of your time to be absolutely certain you're not leaving money on the table, wouldn't it? Right? By asking questions and dangling the carrot with permission-based selling, the client feels like they're in control of the conversation. And we have to remember that most agents only work with people that are just like them. What I mean by that is we need to learn to read people. We have to learn their love language. People like to work with people that they consider to be like them. They work with people that communicate with them the way they need to be communicated with. And that is understanding personality styles. Take a picture of this and refer back to it. I know we got like 30 seconds left, but I'm going to break this down for you before we end. Every person in the world falls into one of four personalities. The driver and the expressive. As you can see, the common denominator between a driver and an expressive is that they're both fast on making decisions. Analytical and amiable are slower with making decisions. So when I talk to someone, I can tell they're fast paced. Now I know, okay, I either have a driver or an expressive. If they're slower, then I know I have an analytical or an amiable. But then when we look left to right side of the column, the driver and the analytical have something in common, which is they're low on emotion. Where the expressive and the amiable is high on emotion. So what's my point? I am an expressive. If I communicate as an expressive to an analytical, the analytical thinks I'm a freaking clown because the analytical loves facts and figures. The analytical is low on emotion and slow in making decisions. And if I'm talking as an expressive with these grand sweeping statements, I'm not getting into any of the analytical details. I am not communicating with the prospect the way they need to be communicated with. Therefore, they decide I'm not the person for them. And I want you to think back on the conversations you've had in the past. How many times did you talk to someone that was very low on emotion and slow in making decisions, and you thought to yourself, man, this person's not motivated. I'm just going to move on. I'm not going to ask 7 or 8 questions. What you did is you threw away a prospect that was needing to be communicated with a different way than you naturally communicate. If I slow down and understand, man, I'm talking to an amiable. This person is high on emotion and low on decisions. An amiable is the nurturer type. They want everything to be fair. Now I can communicate with them the way they want to be communicated with. Whereas a driver just wants the results, just get to the point, result oriented. So I suggest this to you. I invite you to consider that your success in sales is right on the other side of understanding how to determine the person you are talking to's personality style, and then asking questions that match the way they need to be communicated with. And so long as you ask questions, you repeat and approve, and you don't hang up until they hang up on you, you will set more appointments. So from here on out, the goal is simple. You stay smiling and dialing, but you're on the phone with a prospect as long as it takes to set an appointment or get hung up on. And what I mean by that is understand that our job is to keep them on the phone for 7 to 8 objections to give ourselves a shot at getting that appointment. So that was my normally 90-minute presentation crammed into 22 minutes.
I love it.
Yeah.
But I hope that was useful.
No. Super useful. One thing that I want to say that was incredibly impactful was when you're thinking about the decision-making process, they're either running away from pain or they're running towards pleasure. Like that's a great framework to, if you know nothing else, you know that's the basics of what they're trying to do. And then 2, I think it's also important when communication patterns in terms of how you express or how you communicate with someone. That's something that Luis and I actually spend a lot of time talking about as we're thinking through presentations and we're going through kind of larger audiences. We're thinking, okay, when you're in a one-on-one conversation, I know that if you are this type of communicator, I'm going to use a lot of detail. I'm going to use a lot of data. I'm going to be very granular on what I'm saying. Whereas if you're more of an expressive, I'm just going to give you general ideas, point you in kind of the vibe that we want to feel. And then that's going to be the way that you want to communicate. When you're speaking to an audience, then you're trying to find that balance. You're trying to read the room and find that balance. So it's something that's incredibly important for all levels of communication. And then kind of lastly, I think, a permission-based selling, which is that you're asking a question to proceed forward. Hey, would it make sense, or could I explain to you why, whatever it is that the objection is, you're asking permission to solve the problem for them. All of those things, if you took nothing else and implemented just those small little pieces, I promise you, you are going to see a difference in your business. You're going to see a difference in your communications. And then the last piece is thinking about your objections in the way of like, hey, I'm not waiting till I get to the next yes. You're saying, hey, I'm trying to get this person to tell me 7 or 8 objections on this phone. So you completely reframe the way that objections and when it's not going the right way, as some people would say, feels, because it now becomes a positive.
I would actually suggest that you don't make money when people say yes. You make money in the process of handling objections. It's the objections that make the money. And the yes is just the materialization of all of the objections that you handled prior.
Damn, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is definitely going to have to be a rewatched episode, because Sam did a phenomenal job cramming in what I would call like a semester's worth of psychologies of sale communication in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So there's so many nuggets that were dropped here today. One thing I do want to point out, number one, that whole quote of, an objection is just merely an unanswered question. Yep. Phenomenal. Yep. What an amazing nugget. If you enter into that objection with that type of mindset, it will totally shift how you will see what an objection is and how you should handle those objections, to position yourself accordingly. Because at the end of the day, the number one mission we have with a consumer, the ultimate mission, whenever we are forming those interactions, is how quickly can we take that consumer out of the market? Oftentimes we enter into the communications of how quickly can I get that consumer a home, or how quickly can I list the consumer's property? Like, that should not be the sole mission. The mission should be, how quickly can I pull them out of the market? And then it's counterintuitive, because usually consumers who are further away from making that decision, right, of listing their home or buying a property, we as agents believe that this is a bad lead. Mm-hmm. Hey, this is a bad lead. They're not ready to buy. They're not ready to sell. So I need to move on. However, that's actually an excellent lead, because it's giving you the maximum runway to be able to pull that consumer out of the market without being challenged with other agents. If we use Zillow, for example, we think, or as agents, Zillow is what people call the pinnacle of leads. They have the best leads, whatever the case may be. But people don't see the work that happens behind the scenes inside of Zillow to make it a great lead. In their world, they have a team of hundreds of individuals who are working at a call center, who are nurturing these leads, who are overcoming the objections, who are extracting the objections to get this consumer to the place where they are ultimately then going to quarterback it to an agent. But nobody saw the months and years worth of work of nurturing that was happening to build that Zillow relationship with the consumer. What if you can position yourself as that person? What if you are at that place that Zillow is at, to build that communications, to make that consumer ultimately feel comfortable with you? And the principles that Sam addressed today is what brings you to that point, the psychology behind getting that person ultimately feeling comfortable with working with you.
Great messaging today, Sam. We definitely have to bring you back and continue to go through this and expand on some additional talking points. Again, I think that the mindset piece of this is, to your point, which is that like, you're never going to get to a place where someone just says yes the entire way, right? You are going to have objections and things that you're going to have to help people get past through the entire process. When you're first meeting them, that you are the sale, right? So their objection is about you, not you as a person, but working with you. Like, that is the way that the objections are going to feel. Once you get past that and they say, hey, Luis is my guy, now you're going to start working through the objections together on getting the home. Like, that's just how it is. And so again, objection is an unanswered question. So when there are objections about you, they have questions about you. And so your job at that moment is to sell them on you, help them understand that you are the person that's going to put their ambitions ahead of yours, and then you are going to accomplish their goal. Once you have done that, you move to the next piece. And so I think it's a total reframing of how you think about the objection piece. So
people are not buying or selling a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,500 square foot home. That's not what they're buying. They are buying moving to get closer to their grandkid. They are buying an extra bedroom because they just had another kid. They are buying going from a 2-story to a 1-story because the stairs are killing them. They are buying moving to get closer to school. They are not buying what's on the MLS. They are buying a solution to their pain or their challenge. And when you understand what they're actually buying, now you can help give them what they want, which is not an MLS listing. It's a solution to their problem. Thank you guys so much.
Yes, man. Yep. Killer. Sam, we're bringing you back next week, bro. We're going to double down.
All right.
We bring in part 2 next week. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. Truthfully, just amazing. And I love listening to Sam because I honestly continue to learn from him as well, too. So we will go ahead and cut it there. We will see you on Motivational Monday. We're going to be breaking down the market, new acquisitions in the market. We're going to be having Robert break us down why we think that continues to happen in the space, giving you a quick market update, and then, of course, walking you through the week so that you understand how to prepare it with the most enthusiasm. So have a blessed and prosperous weekend. And happy Father's Day to all of my fathers out there. Hope you guys have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.